Hey guys, we're back here to talk about this week. We're going to talk about Redress for Andromeda by Caitlin Kiernan. I hope everybody had a good break. This is an interesting story. This is what I would call a very pure example of the weird. I think that she does a great job of capturing that unsettling feeling of it of someone encountering or coming into contact with something that they really don't understand. And I think it's interesting that the main character Tara is a marine biologist. You know, she's very much a scientist whose whose existence is based in reality as we know it. And you know, scientists of course deal in facts as they like to talk about, which we could go down a whole rabbit hole about facts, but we're not going to in this class. But you know, the knowledge that we consider factual, the knowledge that we consider kind of verifiable or set in stone. And so she comes to this party. She's been invited by Darren, and the party is very strange, right? You know, Kiernan does a lot with black and white here. You know, Tara is the only one at the party that's dressed in white. And so it's almost like she's been invited. You should get this vibe that she's been invited as sort of a sacrifice of some sort. It's very strange. You know, of course, white symbolizes purity and innocence. And there are references directly to Alice in Wonderland here through the Looking Glass. There are direct quotes from that in this, so that she's certainly trying to make the reader understand that that Tara is entering a sort of a fantasy world, an alternative world. This is very much what we would call a coming of age story. We've seen several of these throughout the semester. However, I think this one's different because of what she encounters in the basement. It's directly connected to the myth of Andromeda, who is supposedly chained to the rock by Poseidon, and the Gorgon beast in the myth comes to devour her. And of course, Perseus is employed to save her and rescue her, which he does. There's an interesting connection about the throwing of the coin. So it's almost like the people at the party are making some sort of sacrifice to this beast to keep something at bay, which kind of brings in that Lovecraftian element. You know, we get this sense that if they don't do this, that something really terrible is going to happen, and that maybe the whole existence of our universe hinges upon these people throwing these coins every year or every so often. And Tara somehow gets pulled into that. And then she has this sort of mythical experience. It's almost like, this transcendent, otherworldly experience. And then she finds herself waking up on the coastline there at the end of the story. She's very disoriented, doesn't really know what to do, but you can tell that she's been changed dramatically by this, and that she won't be the same. And so that is the very weird element, I think, that she's encountered this unknown that she can't quite get her mind around. And that's a very human experience, right? We have these experiences throughout our lives. I love the way that she brings in the Lovecraftian element to it and makes it a little bit creepy. Like, you don't know if she's going to be sacrificed, or if she has, she obviously has some kind of connection to this woman. And redressing something is trying to correct it, or try to address it in a way that justifies it, or reclaims it, I think. And so some way she's trying to reclaim that myth, of the helpless beauty who has to be saved by the man. And so we don't necessarily see that happen here. We see almost the reverse of that. There's something that happens to Tara. There's something that we don't know, that we don't really get to see, but we do know that this process has kept something far worse from happening. And so maybe it's Cthulhu down there that they're keeping at bay. I don't know, but it's a really interesting story, I think, in that regard, and in the way that it shows that, like, we we have these kinds of encounters, maybe not to this degree, right? We don't find mermaids chained up in basements or anything, but we do have these encounters with things sometimes that we can't quite get our minds around, and they forever change us, right? We encounter them, they sort of touch us, we touch them, and they do change us, hopefully for the good, right? But that's a big part of the human experience and the coming of age experience, right? And I think it's a beautiful story, beautiful symbolism, imagery, and a little bit creepy. And I think it, in some ways, kind of reclaims the Lovecraftian mythos a little bit for us. Puts a little bit more of a feminist spin on it, and you know, exposes that we all kind of go through this process. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's what keeps the greater evils at bay, is that we go through these processes and change, and we don't otherwise we would be very different, very cold, maybe very dark and lost. And so these things kind of redeem us in a sense. So I think that's kind of what she's going for there. So hopefully you enjoyed that story. We'll be back next week. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and see you soon.